Welcome back, everybody, Hypno Junkies and all, to Chaos Head Noah. I had a little freak out as the opening credits were running, like, oh crap, did I unplug my controller from Street Fighter 6? Yes, I did. So no more bugging. That's always annoying. But we are back to this fun. It's been a couple of days, but there's been a bit of a lull in the action, and I have a feeling that means something major is about to happen, because that's how this game is typically paced. We're probably getting close to the end of our current chapter, which I believe is called Psychopath. Still pretty sure that's named after Kazue, but I guess we'll find out. Could be named after a few people, frankly. But the lull in the action has been quite a bit of conversation. We've gotten to get to know Orihara Kazue a little bit better. She certainly jumped up on my list of ranking of characters that I like to characters I dislike. She used to be very boring and just kind of there, and I'm not sure what her deal is. And now that we've gotten to know her a little better, it's like, okay, I see what this character is about. Senna is still as aloof as ever, but she's also there too, and we've had some conversations with them. And now we're due for a conversation with Ayase, aka Fess, at which point we'll have rounded out the trio of conversations with girls with swords, and I have a feeling that the enlightenment, I have a feeling the insights that we've gotten from these people are going to help us in getting our own. Something we failed to do when we were on top of the building at the Shibuya Scramble. But we have learned that also that Rimi may not be on our side, which was always a possibility, but now it's more or less confirmed. And there's still some things happening in the background involving Suwa and the nurse and just the head of the... Didn't we end off the last episode with some guy talking out a window? I forget his name off the top of my head. But he seemed like a big baddie. We also started to learn a little bit about the mechanics of all the stuff that's going on here, which is something I kept lamenting that we didn't know about yet. Things like Gigalomaniacs and the Dirac Sea and other stuff. But we'll see where all this stuff goes. Right now we're due to visit Ayase in the hospital with Mizumi, so let's get into it. It was lunch break. I usually skipped lunch. I had no one to eat with, and I didn't want to eat alone in the classroom. Is Kazue going to chase us down? Recently, Rimi had started asking me to eat with her, but since I was me, I would always get embarrassed and refused in the end. Haven't we just seen Rimi for the first time in ages just today? That meant that my usual routine would be to leave the classroom and take refuge in a place I felt comfortable. Sometimes it was a library, sometimes it was the courtyard, but now that everyone in the school knew my face, there was no place I could go where I could relax. Are you going to head out to the park? The merciless gazes that pierced through me, the abuse and ridicule that was hurled at me. Today, too, I walked around the school, being exposed to all of it. Can we see Nanami again, please? Eventually, I knew I had no choice but to duck into a private bathroom. But right when I was about to, are you seriously going to have lunch in a bathroom? Come on, guy. Oh, is that... It is Nanami! Yay! Hey, look, she's not dead or bloodied. I don't see her hands, though. I want to see her hands. I saw Nanami walking down the corridor leading to the first-year building. It looked like she was walking alone toward the classrooms. Speaking of Nanami, I hadn't spoken to her since the incident. I've been avoiding her for the entire week. Yeah, but why, though? And I've been doing it because I didn't really know how to act once I saw her. I had put my own life before hers. I was the worst big brother ever. It was only a miracle that Nanami had been released safe and sound. I'd had nothing to do with it. Maybe Shogun had told her that it was my fault she'd gotten kidnapped. Maybe she never got kidnapped. You ever think of that? If he had, she would definitely be angry with me. Maybe she hated me. Maybe she didn't want to speak to me ever again. That was why I didn't have the courage to go talk to her. But now that I'd seen her, I was starting to worry about her once again, even after everything. I wondered if I had truly wronged her. I wondered if she'd been injured. I wonder if she had been hurt mentally. I was going to say, her hands... You can see her hands, because you're not cropped by the camera. I feel if her hand was missing, you'd have noticed. For a moment, the memory of the hand resurfaced in my head. But I shook my head violently to ward it off. That severed hand, along with the bangle it had been wearing and the cell phone it had been holding, it had all been a delusion, a real delusion. Was it, though? Because you called it and it went to that phone. Like, surely someone actually stole her phone and bangle, right? I'd like to hear Nanami's side on this. Because the hand had disappeared from the refrigerator. Rather than thinking it had somehow sprouted legs and walked away, it was far more reasonable reasonable to believe that it had never been there in the first place. Or someone just came and took it because your security sucks. The fact that Nanami was alive and well was proof of that. Before I knew it, I had broken into a run. I was chasing after Nanami. Her figure got bigger and bigger as I approached her. She hadn't noticed me yet. We're slowly zooming in. As she walked, she played with her hair with the fingertip of her right hand. Oh, the right hand. Hooray, she has a right hand. As I ran, I started to call out to her. On her right hand, the hand that was playing with her hair, the sleeve of her uniform ever so slightly slipped down. Is the bangle there? Suddenly I was hit with a strange feeling, and I choked back the sound I was about to make. I stopped dead in my tracks. No bangle. Or is there... Oh! What? I had seen it. It had been an extremely trivial, truly inconsequential feeling, and yet... white. It was white. As if trying to conceal something. Yeah, whoa! Okay. A white bandage. It would take a lot more than a bandage to fix that. Was wrapped around her right wrist. Is that the end of the chapter? That's the end of the chapter. IR2. Okay, that's the end of Psychopath. I guess we could have... It would have been nice to time that for the end of the last episode, but oh well. Oh dear. Well... That raises a whole bunch of questions. We thought maybe that the hand was a fake out, like it was someone else's. It did raise the question of how the phone and the bangle got stolen, but, oh, wait, what if it was just Nanami's hand anyway? That clears things right up. That's curious. It still leaves a lot of questions unanswered because we've seen situations where certain people see or experience reality in certain ways that are parallel but not quite the same as what other people experience. So that could just be some other kind of injury in the same way that we saw, well, we didn't see, but the most recent New Gen killing involves someone gnawing off the skin around their own right hand. That was also sort of analogous. Like, what is the parallel here? How are these things tying together? We still need to learn more about the mechanics and stuff. But that will come. It will come in time. Initiated by Momose, a meeting was slated to be held at the Frieza Credit Bureau. I'm going to keep calling it that. A meeting to which Ban was now running nearly half an hour late, as is his usual purview. Cool sound effect for the door, bro. Ah, Ban-chan, you're awful late. I'm not getting any younger, you know. Is it Ban or is it Sua? Momose's angry voice hurled into him as he entered the office. In response to this, Ban gave a minor shrug, then proceeded to walk up to the desk of Frieza's president with an amiable smile on his face, and hopefully chocolates. He had not brought any refreshments today. Well, he's screwed. Something he was beginning to believe may have been a lapse in judgment. Oh, it was. My, where's Sua-chan? He's off working on another project for the day. You sure do enjoy working youngsters to the bone. Hey, I'm working hard too, Missy. I was up all night yesterday doing all kinds of research. Thanks to that, I learned a thing or two about the culture surrounding high school girls these days. Is that what you're interested in? Yeah, I'm at a loss for words. Something you're very talented at causing. Well, anyway, since you called me over here, does that mean you got in touch with the kid? What kid? Yes, she's here right now, in fact. Uh-oh. Who is this kid? You got in touch with the kid. She's here right now. Is it Yua? Because we know Yua's been doing some investigating. We haven't seen her in much capacity for a while. Ah, nice work, Momo-chan. It could potentially be Nanami, but I doubt it. Yua seems like the safest bet. Oh, and while we're on the topic, is she a cutie? Yeah, give him a slap. Momose promptly smacked Ban over the head, stopping his opportunistic grin in its tracks. The sheer speed with which she had turned her wrist made the slap especially fierce.
いつまでもバカなこと言ってんじゃないわよ。
That's enough stupidity out of your mouth for one day, you old lech.
冗談だ。
I was just kidding. Just kidding. It was a joke. Before arriving at the building, Bon had made a private request to Momose. It entailed setting up a meeting between him and a certain person connected to the New Gen cases. It could be Yua, but Yua's only connection is through investigation. If there was a person who's connected, who's a girl, it would be Remy, probably? Or did they manage to track down Senna? Because we know Bon saw Senna on a security camera. It could be a few people. Rather than anything work-related, it was merely to satiate a personal curiosity. He was not planning on talking about anything related to the New Gen investigations for the time being. And due to his position, Bon could not simply meet with the person on his own, else he would risk drawing the ire of the detectives he was getting ahead of. So Momose had to do a little favor. Momose urged Bon over to a corner of the office. It was a fairly cramped space, almost all of which was already taken up by shelves packed full of files. I don't think it would be Ayase because she's still in the hospital. The location was used as a reception area of sorts, and a pair of love seats had been wedged into the only place they could fit. Bon entered this section after Momose, and his eyes landed upon a lone girl sitting in one of the love seats. Could be a few people, but I'm going to say it's Yua. I mean, she's obviously wearing a Sue Academy uniform. Her head and shoulders were curved toward the ground, and she looked incredibly haggard.
ごめんね。お待たせしちゃって。
Sorry to make you wait, dear. I guessed right. Okay. I had a feeling. This is going to be an interesting conversation, because Yua knows some stuff. And she had a weird conversation during the earthquake on her phone as well. The girl looked up in startlement upon hearing Momose. In the process, her glasses had slipped down her nose a bit, leading her to swiftly readjust them with her finger. Oh, not at all. I don't mind. Is she doing her meek act again, like she did when we first met her? She's just gonna play the meek little timid high school girl for now until she gets a read on Bon. When she saw Bon, her expression turned slightly fearful, before bowing her head and greeting a moment later. Bon felt somewhat hurt by this. He had made every attempt to look as non-threatening as possible in both bearing and appearance. But the girl's reaction made him realize that despite his best efforts, the ferocity and intimidation particular to detectives was seeping out all the time. Well, again, that or it's just an act that she would have done anyway. Looks like I've still got a lot more practicing to do, he thought with bitter amusement as he sat across from Yua. What are you two going to talk about? I've been waiting to see you two in the same room for a while now. Kusunoke Yua-san, right? Yes. The older twin sister of the late Miya-san. I got that one right too? Oh, where have we... I feel like we've heard that name before. I feel like somebody mentioned a sister. I can't remember if it was actually Yua herself on the phone. Somebody mentioned a sister. Oh, damn. This is going to be one of those episodes. I'm going to have to go back over my own Let's Play and try to figure out what the hell everything happened. If I'm nice and I figure it out, there'll be text on the screen right now that's like, oh yeah, you heard it here. And if it's not, then either I don't remember or I'm lazy. Yua slightly adjusted her posture, then returned a nod. Oh! Okay, maybe I hadn't heard that name before. The first New Gen incident, the group dive, among the 5 high schoolers that had leapt to their deaths was a girl named Kusunoki Miya. Well, that certainly gives Yua an invested interest in this case. My next question is, when did your sister die? Did she die a few months ago, or did she die 5 years ago? Because that is something that I feel like Bon is also going to be asking about. Well, there's no need to be nervous. Don't think of it as me interrogating you. Just think of it like we're having a nice old chat. But before we get into the topic at hand, do you mind if I ask you something? Yua-chan, what's your opinion on your sister's passing? Well, that's a little personal. Yeah, Bon-chan, what on earth are you?
あ、悪いね。
Whoops. Sorry about that. Comes with the territory.
気を使うような言い方だ。
I sometimes forget to be considerate when I'm talking to people.
ただ、
But, still, I am curious, yeah. But answer the
で
question.
も話題になってた。
I overheard people at HQ talking about it, and they said that the late Kusunoki Miya-san's family was quite strange.
ばあちゃん
He's just barking at him like a dog. Ban-chan, down!
いえ、いいんです。
No, it's okay. How are they strange? I am curious. We still don't know that much about Yua, despite her really being the first major female character that was actually introduced to the game. She's just been hovering around the edges doing her own thing. We got to know about Orihara. Maybe now is the time to learn about Yua. Before Momose could rise to her feet over Bon's insensitive comment, Yua stopped her.
私もおかしいって思います。
I already believe something is wrong with them.
あ
集団ライブで飛び降りた5人には、
The five that jumped off the roof in the group dive had no reason to commit suicide. Their friends and family all insisted that. Wasn't there a fourth? I remember Suwa giving the report on this and saying, of the families, 4 of the 5 students' families said they had no reason to commit suicide. Was the 5th Mia?
だが、ミヤさんの家族だけは
Miya-san's family was different. She comes from a long line of spirit mediums. Bon took his fan out from his belt and began cooling himself.
何も主張しなかった。
I've been told that they were the only ones who weren't adamantly against the
何
idea.
に何も言わな
That
さ
they
せ
had
て
accepted it just like that. In fact, they said so little, it was almost bizarre.
なんでだよ。
Why do you think that is?
お父さんもお母さんもみやちゃんが死んでから
Literally her
お
twin
かしくなっ
sister.
ちゃったんです。
After Mia-chan died, both mom and dad snapped. I almost wonder if we'd seen her twin sister instead of Yua at some point if it were for the fact that she died well before the game started. Because you know how twins work in these games. Everyone's got a damn twin. Anguish seeped from Yua's
最
voice.
初はみやちゃんの事件の知ら
On
せ
the
を
day
受
we
けた日
heard
は
about Mia-chan,
それでも泣いていたんです。
they cried and
お
cried.
父さんもお母さんもとても
Mom
辛
and
そうで
Dad
した。
seemed absolutely heartbroken.
でも次の日の朝
And yet,
な
the
ぜか
very
二
next
人は
morning,
楽しそうに笑ってい
for
た
some
んです
reason I can't understand, they were
みや
smiling
ちゃんが死ぬ
happily.
前と
It was
全く
as if
同じ
they'd
に
gone
戻って
right
いたん
back
で
to
す。
how they were before Mia-chan died.
たった一日で
It only took a single day.
私わけが分からなくて
I was at a complete loss.
二人はみやちゃんのことを忘
I
れよう
thought
と
that
してるんじゃな
maybe
いかって
they
思
were
って
trying to forget about Mia-chan.
そうしたらお父
But
さん
then, with this big smile on his face, Dad said something to me.
お前に妹なんていないよ
He said,
って
You don't have a younger sister.
みやちゃんが残した洋服とか
Even when I showed them her
服とか見
clothes, her
せても
shoes,
全然取り合って
anything
くれないん
Mia-chan
で
left
す
behind, they completely disregarded it.
それはお前のために予備で買
They
ってあ
just
った
said,
ものだ
Those are just a few extras we bought for you just in case.
そうやってお父さんたちはニュース
They
から
ignored both the
警察の
news
話から
and
目を背
everything
け
the police said.
記憶からみやちゃんのことを消し
It
去
was
ろう
like
と
they were
してるん
trying
で
to completely erase Mia-chan from their memories.
つまり双子じゃなかったことに
What you mean to say is that they were trying to make themselves think that they'd never had twins?
それで警察にもうちは一人っ子だっ
And
て言って
that's when they told the
追い返
police
して
that
た
they only had one kid before turning them away.
私とみやちゃんは一卵性で
Mia-chan and I were
見た目は
identical
指二
twins,
つなん
so
ですけど
while our appearances were exactly
あの
alike,
子は
my
妹は
parents
親
they
から
didn't
嫌われ
really
ていました
like my sister.
あの子はいつも自分の気持
And
ちを
yet,
押し殺して
She always kept her
私のことを
feelings
一
secret,
番に考えてくれて
and
い
she
たんで
always
す
put me before herself. As Yua spoke, memories from when Mia had still been alive resurfaced in her mind. Are we going to get them? You don't have to make new sprites, you can just reuse the old ones. First came a memory from when the two had still been in elementary school. One day, some relatives had brought the girls a single large teddy bear as a present. In contrast to the raw joy Yua displayed, Mia insisted that she did not like stuffed animals, and proceeded to not even so much as look at the plushie's way. Both her relatives and parents were upset with Mia for not acting as a child should. But despite Mia's protesting, Yua whispered to her that the two of them could share it, that it could be something they could both treasure. However, in response to her sister's kindness, Mia simply said that she did not want it, and that Yua could have it. Almost a month later, When Yua had grown tired of the teddy bear, she woke up in the night and happened to witness a certain scene. Aww. With an incredibly joyful look on her face, Mia was hugging and talking to the teddy plushie. That was the first time Yua had ever seen her sister so happy. And from this, she realized that her sister's insistence about disliking stuffed animals had been a lie. Mia had been keeping her own feelings hidden, all for the sake of her older sister. Aww. The next day, Yua found a lovely drawing of a bear beneath Mia's pillow. Until her sister had grown tired of the teddy bear, Mia had been hugging and sleeping with the drawing in lieu of it. Things very similar to this happened again and again over all the 18 years they spent together. For their birthday celebrations, Yua always blew out the candles on the cake, but when Mia was prompted to do it, she would say, "I refuse to do something so ridiculous," angering her parents. Yua advanced to the private high school Psy'Min Academy. Mia, meanwhile, had been misbehaving at school, deliberately scoring lower on exams, and therefore moved on to a public high school. Due to the exorbitant fees, their parents would have only been able to afford to send one of them to a private school. No matter how hard Yua tried to let her sister have something, Mia would always gain the upper hand and force Yua to be prioritized. To achieve this end, she even intentionally took a dislikable attitude. To the very end, I took advantage of Mia-chan's kindness. Before now, I only ever thought of myself. After Mia-chan passed away, I couldn't help but think there must have been something I could have done for her, and I felt so much regret. I wish that I could have died in her place. And even after everything, to think our parents forgot that she even existed. It's all too much. It's too sad for me to take. I wonder if their memories were actually erased in the same way that Remy wants to erase us, in the same way that we can delusion things in and out of existence and have everyone just accept them. Yua, having now reached her limit, could no longer squeeze out any more words. She took off her glasses, pressed her fingers against the corners of her eyes, and broke down in tears. Momose sat down beside her and gently rubbed her back. This also implies that Yua would be immune to that ability or power, which would further imply that she's going to get herself a sword at some point. Well, it sounds like Yua-chan has been investigating the incident on her own. Yeah, I said before, I want to see her notes. Also, she can find out what happened to Mia-chan. None of that's easy. It must have been really hard on her. And in the process, she was able to identify a certain individual. Yeah, we're probably going to recognize this name. As Momose held Yua's shoulders, she turned her eyes toward Ban. Yep, Nishijo Takumi-kun. Ah, I see now. Naruhodo. Stroking the stubble on his chin, Ban leaned forward from the sofa. At some point or another, I did hear about the non-stop pursuit starring Nishiju and a high school girl. A detective from another jurisdiction let me know. Yeah, the one you left to do your job, who then lost, Takumi. Might that have been you, Yua-chan? Yua nodded apologetically. Interesting. Very interesting. Would you mind telling me more? Oh, actually, I was going to ask you if you could tell me more, but I gotta duck out for a quick minute here. I'll be right back. With a strange smile, Ban lightly bowed his head to Yua and Momose. His words had been interrupted by the cell phone in his suit pocket. Who will this be? Suwa? Oh, well, that was answered quickly enough. He swiftly took out the phone and checked the screen. Oh, look, it's Suwa. Yeah, what you need, kid? The 7th's here. The 7th incident? That was quick. Wasn't the... Oh, no, I guess the 6th incident was after the whole Nanami rescue bit. So it's been a couple episodes, but still, that's rather quick. The 7th event is here. What did you just say? Sua's voice sounded strained. The sounds of investigators frantically scurrying about could be heard throughout the phone. Suo must have been at the investigation headquarters. The 7th New Gen incident happened. Good God, how many of these are there going to be? And how gruesome is this one going to be? Which part of your body did you chew off this time? Bond's eyes opened wide and his expression turned bitter as his teeth sank into his lip. Sensing the seriousness of the situation from his behavior, Momose and Yua watched the detective with unease. One of these days, the victim is going to be someone we know. You just watch. 3 Vicks. Apparently they were buddies. Okay, never mind. Hopefully it's not Takumi, Momose, or Mizumi and Rimi. All 3 were sliced in half at the torso. Their upper and lower halves were then swapped around. Ew! And then using synthetic fiber, double ew, the mismatched halves were sewn together. Okay, but why though? They also had wounds on their foreheads in the shape of the letters Q, D, and N. Oh. DQNs. Takumi's favorite slur. DQ... Oh, wait a minute. Are these the 3 kids that attacked Takumi in the back alley? Maybe Orihara didn't actually kill them, but maybe someone else came along and finished the job and turned them into their personal art project. Some kind of message? Oh, come on, guys. Don't you know what a DQN is? No clue. And it doesn't end there either. What the hell else did you do? Did you pose them? The autopsy found something pretty interesting. The severed parts of the Vic's torsos weren't split by a saw, knife, or any other kind of sharp object. And how'd they end up in half? My God, it's AI the Somnium Files again. Apparently they were torn apart by some strong force. Holy shit. Motherfucker's getting drawn and quartered up in this bitch. Torn apart? Bond repeated Sua's words back to him with a low groan, and then roughly scratched his head with the handle of his fan. Yeah, this is not a scratch the chin moment. You can scratch your head with it. Like a monster did it. Like one of those wizards that are real popular nowadays. Shibuya has popular wizards? Sir, are you being serious? No, he's not. Disregard that last statement. Sorry, but it doesn't matter how big of a movie buff I am. I just don't see myself agreeing with that opinion. It was Godzilla! I'm just making a comparison, you schmuck. Never mind that. Just get back to investigating. I don't know. I feel like we've got a pretty good picture of what happened there. We can stop investigating now. I actually don't want to hear anymore. Can we pretend this one didn't happen? Damn. Somebody needs a new hobby. I'm just saying. After barking that order to Suo, Bond ended the call. I hope you didn't overhear any of that. Never mind, you're going to be investigating it later anyway. What am I saying? Okay, so we did run off to the park for our lunch break, didn't we? Now that it was November, I had a feeling that the sun was already setting much earlier than before. Never mind, it's after school. By the time Rimi and I started heading home together after school, a faint orange was already staining the sky. Yeah, but when are we visiting Ayase? That's the question. What are you sorry about? Despite being silent up until now, Rimi abruptly apologized. Boy, we haven't seen this face in a bit, it feels like. It must have been really, really hard, Taku. It was the first time I'd gone home with Rimi in a while, exactly. I was genuinely really happy that she'd come back. She'd been the one to initiate it, saying, let's walk home together. Since we'd only gone home together no more than twice, I'd secretly been worried that it would never happen again. However, that turned out not to be the case. I'm sorry I wasn't by your side. In that earthquake, someone I know got hurt. Did they? Or is that just your cover story? Or do you actually know Ayase and that's why you were watching her? And I've been taking care of them ever since. Okay, so no, you're just lying. Even though I hadn't asked, Rimi was kind enough to explain herself to me. Yeah, okay. Though to be frank, almost all of Rimi's words were going in one ear and out of the other. Yeah, we were mostly concerned about Nanami. That bandage around the wrist. That's, We have questions, and I'm not sure we want the answers. The bandage. The bandage I'd seen on Nanami's wrist at lunch break. It had been burned into my eyes and refused to go away. I mean, at least she got it back. Silver linings.
怒ってる
Are you mad? We have concerns. In the end, I had failed to say anything to Nanami. I'd been too scared. Even though Nanami was my little sister, even though I was Nanami's older brother, something had just felt unbelievably strange, and I had no idea what it was. The nurse had said that Nanami had no injuries. That hand that Shogun had delivered to my base had disappeared from the fridge without a trace. It had all had to have been a delusion. But if that was true, why had Nanami's right wrist been wrapped in a bandage? I mean, maybe the nurse just didn't see the bandage. If she's running around in her school uniform, there's very little of her physically that you can see. Though it was possible that I was just overthinking it, and that she'd just gotten burned or stung by something, or gotten some other stupid minor injury that didn't matter at all. Yeah, that was probably it. That was that was the most logical answer. Yeah, that's right. But even now, I was still too scared to check. Even after failing to save her, even after failing my saving throw, I was still just pacing around doing nothing, not even trying to talk to her, my own little sister. I really was the worst brother ever.
ねえタク
I mean, she's gonna come by for a survival check at some point, right? Taku? Hello? Are you listening?
怒ってるならそう言ってよ
If you're mad, then just say so, but being ignored like this hurts pretty bad. Huh? I looked over at Remy, who seemed weirdly disheartened.
えっと
Oh, huh?
もしかして私の話
Have you not been listening this whole time? No, pretty much. Not. After hesitating for a second, I nodded. And the moment I did, Remy jabbed my cheek with her forefinger.
石てっきり無
Bishy?
視されたかと思った
And here I thought you were giving me this silent treatment.
紛らわしいことしない
Don't be so confusing. Communication is key. Ow! You just jabbed your nail into my cheek.
大丈夫
Are you okay? Remy finally stopped poking me, and out came those words I'd heard so often from her. Words of worry and concern. Words I'd heard from Remy again and again.
お昼ぐらいから顔色良くないよ
Ever since lunchtime, you haven't been looking so good. And you seem pretty drained, too.
もしかして誰かにひどいこと言われた
Oh no, was someone mean to you?
だったら私に教えて
If so, then you better tell me. I'm ready to get mad right along with you. She was acting like an older sister, or a guardian even. Remy was just a hopeless meddler. Well, that had been obvious from the moment she'd given an otaku freak like me the time of day. I was grateful to her for being worried about me. Before now, I'd either bottled up my worries deep inside or just posted them anonymously on @channel. Should I tell her about what had happened with Nanami? When I told her about the D-sword that one time, she hadn't believed me at all. Then again, that would be the natural response from anyone sane. So if I were to tell her about Nanami, she'd probably either A, be speechless, or B, just laugh in my face. And if that was true, there really was no point in telling her. All I needed from her was to stay by my side. It would be better to bring up the topic with Kazupi or Senna instead. I still love how her name is just Kazupi now. Okay, we're back at our home
相
base.
変わらず汚いね
Just as messy as ever. Mere moments after stepping foot inside my base, Remy muttered that in exasperation. And yet, paradoxically, she seemed to be smiling happily as well. Weird.
変わってないなこの部屋の
Guess some
汚さが
things never change.
中にタクって
Wouldn't really feel like your room if it wasn't messy. Again, all these conversations are in a much different light now that we know that she wants to kill us. But, you know, I guess we'll just keep letting that slide. If you're going to be like that, then just clean it. Be my guest. With a sigh, I turned on my PC.
ちょっと
Hang on a second. What? Are you seriously getting on the computer the second after we got back? You've got a friend over, so can't you at least show the tiniest bit of hospitality? Clearly, you do not know our boy, as much as you think you do.
ねえお話
Come on,
しよう
why
よ
don't we just talk for a little bit? But I gotta check my chat. Grim might be on. And I need someone to talk to. After hitting me with such an unreasonable demand, right? Remy sat down on the sofa. If I tried to have a one-on-one conversation with a 3D girl, it would be over in seconds. I don't know, you've been having some pretty good luck with that skill lately. As much as I've gotten used to talking with Remy, since I'd had a lot more chances to do so recently, I still doubted I'd last 5 minutes. Moreover, my head was already fully occupied with the stuff about Nanami, so I very much didn't feel up for a casual conversation. And so, I resorted to just ignoring her, which she specifically told me not to do like 5 minutes ago. I sat down in my chair, all while remaining painfully aware of my own worthlessness. Hi, Sarah. You accept me, right? Well then, even after everything, you're still ignoring me. I see how it is. I sensed Ribby shoot off the couch and onto her feet. She then came up next to me and slowly picked up the toy D-sword leaning against the table. Ignoring my confusion, she held up the upper part of the sword and assumed a stance. If you're going to be that way, then I'm going to do this. She swung the sword down. Wait! She was obviously just messing around and wasn't actually trying to hurt me, but regardless, she jabbed me in the back with the tip of the sword. Hiya! Boop! Aha! You're worse than Nanami. Next, she bonked me on the head, and when I tried to wave her off in annoyance, she deftly dodged my counter. Come on, let's do something. Don't make me use this thing for real. You're gonna make us manifest our sword and accidentally cut you in half. Do something? Like what? Mid-diagonal slash aimed straight at my neck, Remy stopped to ponder a little. I don't know. Like some computer game or something? You're good at those, right? We don't do a whole lot of multiplayer. How much for an ESO account? How about something where we can go head-to-head? I've never played anything like that before, so you can show me the ropes. We can play a little Street Fighter 6. Unfortunately, the only games I had were ESO and a catalog of Eroge, neither of which had versus modes. How good are you at voice acting? I don't have any games like that. I grabbed the tip of the sword and pushed it aside. Dissatisfied, Remy pursed her lips into a pout, then put the sword back where she'd found it. Come on, it's been forever since we last saw each other. Okay, and I'm happy to hear that you want to spend time with me, but I'm just not in the mood to do something fun right now. Not with everything going on. I'm even less in a fun mood than I usually am. Oh! Also, you got mail, you big dum-dum. Yeah, I'm not sure we want to look at this with Remy here. Huh? What was that? Did you hear? The big dum-dum's got mail. Oh, it's nothing. Wait a second. Remy had just heard my Saratan notification tone. Oh God, how embarrassing. Well, yeah. When I opened my email software, I saw about 3 messages from Grimm telling me to join the chat room. Probably to talk about the 7th incident. Now that I thought about it, I hadn't really chatted much with Grimm recently. We used to talk online pretty much every day. But since I'd been refraining from playing ESO, it had been around 10 days since we'd last talked. Oh God, that current users 2 always gives me a little bit of anxiety. That's going to jump to 3 or something when Shogun appears, isn't it? Yo! Hey, Neihard-kun, I've been waiting for you, but there's been another nude gen. They weren't nude. What are you even on about? Insert ASCII art here. When you're too lazy to make an emote. Insert here. New gen, dude! What do you think I'm on about? How exactly did we go from new gen to nude gen? He spells it out. New generation equals new gen equals new gen equals new gen. Come on, that shit's obvious. Use common sense. More importantly, there's a 7th case. What is it? Likely having noticed my gasp, Remy stood up and walked over to me. Remy, did you help with this? She peeked over my shoulder at the monitor. The 7th case? It had happened again. Another new gen. How long was this damn thing going to go on for? Was I next? Would I be the victim of the 8th case? The 9th? Taku, you've got nothing to worry about. There's nothing to be afraid of. We're not going to kill you. We're only killing other people. No one's coming after you. You're perfectly safe. You're just being a little bit paranoid, okay? Trust me, I know. We have a list. That was completely baseless encouragement. You can't calm me down with such weak sauce shit, Remy. Simon's just going to make fun of you like he did. Anxiety aside, Grim was pretty much the new gen news guy at this point. He'd been keeping me in the loop about basically everything, whether I wanted or not. Even now, he was going out of his way to link a bunch of blog posts and news articles about it. Seemed like he really wanted me to take a look. Biting my lip, I reluctantly clicked the first link. What are going to be the details? Are they going to be Sumai students? Are they going to be people we know? Is it going to be... Here we go. Yeah, oh yeah, the DQN puzzle. Okay, at least they figured out the order. Oh, we have some names. On November 4th at approximately 4:50 a.m., let's just go through this, dead bodies of 3 men was discovered hanging from an iron pole near a railroad. The deceased have been identified as a 19-year-old, unemployed, 20-year-old, college student, 19-year-old. We don't recognize any of these names. They're not related to anyone we know. And the third one was a construction worker. According to the police, the bodies were severed in half. They were torn in half, as we know. Interchanged, sewn back together, and then they put the letters DQN, respectively. Investigating possibility it might be a message on the popular anonymous online message board @channel. Images of the incident were leaked prior to coverage. Already considered the 7th case. Christened the DQN puzzle. Again, we seem to be the one who says DQN a lot. Due to the manner in which the top and bottom halves of the corpse were recombined. They're a puzzle. They're a puzzle, guys. Somebody failed the puzzle. They didn't match them up right. Recombined. DQN means an individual lacking basic common sense. Is that how they're defining it? I think our tip was something a little bit different. Regarding the serial new-gen cases, the mourning families of the victims have been taking legal action against some particularly offensive posts on that channel. Good luck with that. A move which has sparked fierce debate online. Interview with Yuri Brightman. I don't really care about that. 1,000 calls about Esper Boy flooded overnight. Hey, see, you're getting more popular already. Fake Esper Boy, blah, blah, blah. Let's go to @channel. New gen for the win. What? Wait, it says DQN, Lamau. Literally zero connection to the other cases. Police are dumb as fuck. You trying to say it's one of us anti-DQNs? With their lower bodies swapped around and shit. It's like a puzzle, but with corpses. If only I could trade in my upper body for some alphas. Our Esper Boy, Nishiju, will sniff out the perp for us anytime now. You hear that, Takumi? Get on it. New Gen News Bearer, Group Dive, Manchild, Crucifixion, Vampire, Numbskull, Finger Food. I forgot that's what we were calling that one. Again, ew. DQN Puzzle. Look at these freaking emotes. To be continued. And there are the bodies. Lovely. At approximately 4:50 this morning, near a railroad in Shibuya, because it's always Shibuya, a passing newspaper salesman discovered the bodies of 3 male homicide victims suspended from an iron pole. Oh, come on, guys. Classic suicide method. The police investigation discovered that the victims were all residents of Shibuya. Fujita Kohai, unemployed, Anzawa Saburo, a college student, and Tagaki Ryo, a construction worker. Apologies for all the name butchering. Each victim had been severed in half at the waist. Their upper and lower bodies were then interchanged with one another and stitched back together with thread. There were also mysterious wounds carved into their foreheads, and the police are investigating the possibility that they may be a message left by the culprit. The authorities believe the case is part of a series of grotesque murders that have been occurring in Shibuya over the past 2 months. The investigation is ongoing. You'd think they would be upping the video surveillance in Shibuya with this going on, because, my God, this takes effort. This is not a stab and run, okay? This was articulate. At the end of the news clip, photographs of the 3 victims were shown. I had seen those faces before. Are they the guys that jumped us? Are they actually the guys that jumped us? Was I right? It's them. It's the guys that jumped us. You know them? The guys who beat me up yesterday. Oh, damn. Orihara, you got some splaining to do. I'd given them my wallet, but they kicked my ass anyway. I'd then fallen unconscious, and when I woke up, Kazupi was beside me. The 3 of them had been collapsed on the ground, covered in blood. I dug my wallet out from my pocket and stared at it intently. When I came to, Kazubi had been carrying it and she'd given it back to me soon after. Could the person who killed those three be... I mean, Kazubi left them there and then we went for a walk and we were gone for a while. I'm sure someone else came back and did that. No, definitely not. The last time I'd seen them, they'd been beaten to a pulp and covered in blood, but they hadn't been cut in half or anything. Also, Kazubi specifically said she hadn't killed them, which would mean they'd been killed after Kazubi and I had left. It had to have been Shogun. That wrinkly asshole was trying to provoke me. Okay, that's why they have DQN on their foreheads. They were literally the DQN that attacked us. Damn it, he really was committed to driving me insane. Just how far was he willing to go? I wanted to vomit. I clutched my stomach as it churned in pain. Was I next? Would I be next to die?
終了
And that's enough. Remy turned off the monitor. A hand reached out from behind me and pushed the power button on the monitor. The screen went pitch black.
落ち着いて
Take a deep
気に
breath.
することないよ
There's nothing to worry about.
ただの偶然だって
It's just a coincidence. It has to be. Why was Remy acting so ridiculously optimistic? This couldn't possibly be just a series of coincidences.
それよりお腹空いちゃった
More importantly, I'm starving.
私が行きつけのお店があるんだ
Hey, there's this one place I go to all the time. You want to grab something to eat there?
安くて美味しいんだよ
It's both tasty and cheap. You've got my Remy guarantee.
まあお客さんはおじさんが多
Well,
いから
a lot of the customers there are on the older side, so it's a little embarrassing for me to go on my own.
それと駅の中
Oh,
に入らな
and
き
you
ゃ
have
い
to
けない
go
んだから
inside a train station to get to it.
渋谷駅の構内にあるから
Shibuya Station to be specific.
ちなみに山手線内
If
回
you
りと
take the inside route, you can get to the platform where it's at via the Yamanote line, or you can go in straight from outside. Me, though, I definitely prefer the inside route. Food, huh? I really didn't have much of an appetite right now. Yeah, the scenery we've just been exposed to is not exactly appetite-inducing. It felt like Shogun was holding a knife straight to my throat. Like he was saying, I can kill you whenever I want. Please, just let me go. What had I done to deserve this? I couldn't take it anymore. Still interesting how this is all going to tie together. Hey! I saw the sword, and then I saw you. Your sword is just there. It's just hanging out. Kishimoto Ayase was lying in a hospital bed, idly gazing out the window. Please tell me you didn't real boot that. No bars lined the outside of it, a fact which set it apart from those at Arkhart Medical, where Ayase had stayed in the past. We learned about that back in episode 14, 15? All that stood past the window's frame was the landscape of Shinjuku, decorated by skyscrapers and illustrated by the sunset. Flocks of pigeons soared freely through the sky, flapping their wings to their heart's content. We were supposed to visit Ayase. Right now we seem to be getting food, but Mizumi and me need to come by sometime. Please nothing happen to you before we get there. Every now and then she would gaze upon this sight with a pained expression. Her slightly tired eyes were empty and bleak, her irises reflected nothing. Her lips, which could let flow a voice so beautiful it shook the youth of Shibuya, were now sealed tightly. Not even so much as a hum escaped from them. Following her suicide attempt, an event which caused quite the turmoil, she had been admitted to the psychiatric ward of a large hospital in Yoyogi. I still want to hear your thoughts about this. Her injuries were already very nearly healed. According to the doctors, it had been nothing short of a miracle that she had been able to survive a fall from that height, let alone with barely even a scratch. However, she had indeed hit her head fairly hard, and as such, she had been rushed to the hospital, primarily so they could see how the situation would develop. It had already been over a week since then. However, despite her having been admitted for such a reason, all it seemed to entail was a few rudimentary tests taken every couple of days or so. Beyond that, she had been rather neglected. Her hospital room was private, with no other beds inside it. Ever since her stay had begun, her D-sword had been leaning against the window. It constantly emitted a blue light, yet nobody who visited her ever seemed to notice, of course. Not that there had been many visitors to begin with. Are we going to fast forward to us and Mizumi coming in to say hi, and just leaving behind all this going for food stuff? Phantasm fans would attempt to force their way into her hospital room daily, but as they always caused a disturbance in the process, the hospital had an excuse to forbid them from visiting her. And since Ayase was somewhat detached from her family, there were almost no others who came to visit her. Her fellow band members had made an appearance once, but Ayase used that opportunity to announce her decision for the band to break up. They had not contacted her again since. Hi! It's Mizubi and Takumi and the cute nurse. Kishimoto-san, did your thermometer beep? A nurse wearing white scrubs opened the door to the room, then swiftly entered. I wonder what she's going to factor in. We keep seeing her. She keeps being involved. Suwa talked to her. I want to know why. Ayase slowly turned to look at the nurse's face, then took out the thermometer that had been resting under her arm. It was as if she had only just remembered its presence. The nurse took a look at the recorded temperature shown on its digital screen, then took note of it on the clipboard she brought with her. 37.1 degrees Celsius. You have a very slight fever. My head hurts. Ayase grimaced in pain once more. Oh dear. Is your headache back? I'm afraid that's just a side effect of the medicine we gave you. It'll be gone before long, so try your best to ignore it. Having recorded her temperature, the nurse consoled Ayase with a kind smile. Her expression was so gentle it was clear to all how she was able to put her patients at ease. And yet, despite the nurse's attempts, Ayase simply pushed her hand against her forehead as she shook it back and forth. Ayase had been plagued by mild headaches ever since she had first been hospitalized. They were not especially painful, but they still left her with an uncomfortable feeling that refused to go away, one that felt as if her brain itself was convulsing. What are you doing? What are you doing, nurse? It even reached the point where her ability to think was impaired. As well as this, her body would feel as heavy as lead. Ayase had experienced such symptoms in the past, namely, when she had been institutionalized at Arcart Medical. Yeah. Back then, her head had constantly been split apart by painful headaches, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It deprived her of all sleep and emotional stability. Those were the memories she did not want to resurface, the past she had sealed away, the events of around 2 years ago. And yet, her headache was causing them to flash back into her mind once more. Yikes! What the hell were they doing to you? In them, a dark room, its single window locked behind bars. Apart from the wall in which that window stood, the rest of the walls were covered with mirrors. Ayase had been placed in the center of the room, sat in a crude steel chair. She was wearing headgear with countless cables protruding from it. Her hands were tied to the back of the chair. Her head was locked in place with her chin tilted slightly upward. Not another soul was present in the room. Thus, all that could be heard were the sounds of Ayase's labored breathing and the metal groans of the chair she sat upon. What are they doing to you, child? This was you 2 years ago? Damn. Saliva trickled down from the corners of her mouth, accompanied by moans akin to those of a beast's. If anyone were to hear them, they would never have been able to guess that they were coming from a girl as young as her. Kill me! Kill me! She was being tortured. Slow, methodical torture. One that made very, very little sound. The method only involved one single thing, not even an action. A drop of water falling from above onto her forehead every 5 seconds on the exact same spot. That was all it took. And it would continue, unrelenting, for 2 full days. The result? Ayase could think only of the drop that would fall next. Her senses were sharpened to their limits. And each time a drop fell onto her forehead, another hallucination would be born. One in which each and every nerve across her body was plucked out one by one. One in which the bones of her entire skeleton crumbled to dust. One in which her head was pierced by a long, sharp awl. One in which all liquids within her body, including her blood, froze to ice. One in which the skin lining her entire body slowly rotted away before eventually peeling off. Assailed without end by these sensations, Ayase could no longer maintain her sanity. Yeah, no more headaches, please. Had enough. Thank you. Returning to her senses, she breathed erratically as she tightly gripped the sheets lining the bed. Her body trembled as those dark memories of hers resurfaced in her mind. The nurse that had been in her room just a moment ago was already gone. Dinner time had just arrived at the hospital, and the clamorous sounds that came from it resounded from down the hall. Maybe this is where we'll get some food. Ayase tried to recall the words the nurse had spoken to her right before leaving. Was her headache really just a side effect of the drug she was on? Or had it been caused by her hitting her head, perhaps? Or perhaps it was just a hallucination brought forth by past memories. She was unable to come to a decisive conclusion. Wiping away the sweat that ran down her forehead, Ayase called forth a smile laced with self-loathing.
構わない。
It matters not.
何をされたって
It is in the past.
あれはあの
For I endured
耐え抜いたんだ
and survived my divine punishment.
迷わない。
I will not let it control me anymore. Murmuring in perhaps delirium, Ayase soon became aware of a sound reverberating throughout the hall. The comforting sound of shoes stepping on the linoleum floor. It was certainly not being made by a nurse, and the sound of footsteps was headed right for the room she was in. Is it going to be our boys? Someone knocked on her door, and she sealed her lips tight.
失礼します。
That sounds like a Mizumi. Oh no, it's Sua. Okay, never mind. That someone was but a single man. He had come bringing gifts, namely, a large basket filled with all manner of fruits. I don't eat fruit. Go away. She could recognize the man, which was far from a good sign. She recognizes him. Why does she recognize him? Sua, again, what have you been up to? Thus she stared at him with a dubious glare.
どうも。あ、別に
Hi
怪し
there.
いもんじゃないですよ。
Oh, no need to be on edge, you know.
知ってる。
I know who you are. The man was a detective at the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department. He had once shadowed Ayase, as she was originally a suspect for the New Gen case. Okay, I knew the police were investigating her. I'm not sure if they had actually talked to her, but apparently she just noticed him trailing her. The detective, relieved by her response, scratched his head. His demeanor was unendingly casual.
いやー、嬉しいっす。
Oh, wow, that's an ego boost. I'm so glad that such a pretty lady like you remembers little old me.
記憶力いいんすね。
You have a really good memory, huh? I'm impressed. Yeah, you try to brush that off. The detective moved closer to her bed. Ayase briefly glanced at her D-sword leaning against the window. It lay just outside her reach. Surely you can summon it whenever you want. Put it behind your bed.
今日はお見舞いに来たんすよ。
I just dropped by to check up on
そ
you.
うは思えないわ。
I do not believe
目
you.
的は
What is your objective?
鋭いっす。
Yikes! Talk about straight to the point. The detective flinched very overtly, his reaction perhaps bordering on theatrical.
まあ、ちょっと綾瀬ちゃん。
Well, I just had a little something to ask you, Ayase-chan. Yes?
これ。
Ah, right. I brought this. If you're up to it, you should really eat. The detective smiled innocently, presenting the basket he had brought with him, then placed it at Ayase's feet without waiting for approval.
うまいっすよ。
Are we out of bed?
あと、
They're super tasty! And, expensive, too. Boo-hoo-hoo.
いらない。
I do not want it.
まあ、そう言わず。
Oh, come on, let a guy show you some hospitality. I brought them just for you, you know.
後でお母さんが。
I don't trust you. What's in these fruits? Well, I don't mind if you leave them for when your mom visits. She can cut up a few slices for you then. Oh, shoot. It's been years since you last saw your parents, hasn't it? Ayase-chan. Whoops. Haha, hee. Despite the detective's insensitive remark, Ayase felt nothing in response to it. Her ties to her parents had been cut from a very young age. Her parents had a reputation to uphold, so a child that often caused problems like Ayase had been inconvenient to them, to say the least. Well, that is an interesting statement. Who are your parents? Are they going to be part of that Meiwa group that we heard about before, or someone else? Her only remaining contact with them was the wire transfer she received for her living expenses each month, though it could hardly be called that.
申し訳ないっす。
I'm really sorry. The detective apologized, bowing down hastily. Ayase had only just gotten over the shock caused by her flashback, so she was in no mood to speak with him. Nonetheless, she urged herself to talk all the same.
聞きたいことって
What is it you wanted to ask?
アリバイ
Do you wish for an alibi?
違うっすよ。
Not at all. We've already talked enough about that. What? You want an alibi? What do you want an alibi for, Sua?
もう綾瀬ちゃんの容疑は晴れた。
No! I'm happy to announce that you're no longer considered a suspect, Ayase-chan. You're totally in the clear, I promise. Oh, we want an alibi from her. Okay, fair enough. Well, she has one now, that's for damn sure.
目星がついたの
Have you learned of their motive?
犯人の
The culprits?
それは教えられないんすよ。
Sorry, but I can't tell you that. It's a confidential part of the investigation.
匠
Is it Takumi?
秘密っす。
Can't confirm or deny! The detective smirked. He was attempting to laugh the question away. And yet, something unrefined could be seen through the cracks of that smile. How do you not have Takumi under 24-hour surveillance? You've already followed her. You know where he is.
しかし西條君は
That said,
みんな少年っすね。
Nishija-kun sure is a weird kid, isn't he?
彼を見ていると殺人の
You wouldn't really suspect him of being the killer based on how he looks.
もしあれで本当に犯人だ
If
った
he
と
really
し
is
た
the
ら
culprit, then he's way too good at hiding his true nature.
かぶった悪
The guy would have to be a demon to be that
ま
good.
だ容疑者なの
Is he still a suspect?
いやそういうわけじゃないっすよ。
Nah, not really, you liar. The detective casually denied it with a smile, putting Ayase's persistent questions to rest.
あ今の話誰にも言っちゃダメ。
Oh, you didn't hear that from me, though.
情報漏洩すると
My supervisors will get real mad if they found out I leaked any info. Not that I would blame
こ
them.
の前も先輩のとばっちり
Besides, I only just got off the hot seat with my superior.
綾瀬ちゃんも一度会ってると思うんすけど
I think you met him once before. You remember Ayase-chan? That'd be Ban.
バンさんっていう
Yep,
髪が
Ban san.
で武将髭生や
The
した
detective with the scruffy black hair and the stubble, kind of looks like Columbo. Ayase did remember him. When she had been questioned, that older detective had been even more talkative than the younger one she was conversing with now. His way of speaking had been a lot more assertive as
あ
well.
の人がすぐこの
He's always pretty quick to yell at me, I swear. I can't go one shift without him calling me a schmuck.
そのくせ自分は本来の捜査
I don't know why I'm the schmuck, when he's the one going off on these wild goose chases instead of just investigating what we were assigned to do.
挙句の果てに自分まで無理やりつけ
And as the sweet cherry on top, he's been forcing me to go along with him for all of it.
最近胃が痛いんです
Feels
よ、
like I'm going to lose my mind if this keeps up.
いやまあ目悪い
Well,
人っすし
I'm sure he's a good guy at heart, and his intuition is razor sharp. From what I've heard, he's had to lead some pretty difficult cases in the past, so that's probably why he's turned so hard-boiled. Is Sua going to end up being the culprit? You just watch.
その話をするため
Is this what you wish to talk about?
ここに来たの
Why you came here? Yeah, Fess got no patience. Ayase interrupted the man, and his smile quickly soured.
あいや申し訳ないで
Oh,
す
sorry.
つい愚痴入っ
I got a little sidetracked.
今の話は全面的に
Please keep everything I just told you a secret. Do this, and I, Sua Mamoru, will be indebted to you for the rest of my life. The fact that he's so talky, like, I don't want to spoil other games, but he reminds me of some other characters that turned out to be culprits. Just from him going around doing certain things unnecessarily, and, I don't know. I'm a little sus of him. Maybe he was the guy with the Garo Froggy
それで
in the dude's office.
一つ目は
For starters... Oh, here comes something big.
なんであんなことを
Why'd you do it? The suicide? Despite his ambitious phrasing, Ayase could tell that he was referring to her diving off the school rooftop.
もう何度も話したわ
I already explained why several times. To the other detective.
邪神王グラジオールの復活
To avert the resurrection of the wicked-hearted king, Gladiol, right?
そのつも
What?
りなんてなかった
I did not do it with the intention to die.
魂を一つ上の
I did it
ステージに
merely
持って
to
いこう
ascend
と
my
した
spirit to a higher stage.
例の若者の間で
So she is just crazy, okay. You said something similar about your songs too, yeah? The ones that are pretty popular with kids your age. And that was the second question he had for her. Ayase let out a faint sigh.
ニュージェネのことを歌ったものなんかじゃない
Those lyrics were not about New Gen in the slightest.
グラジオール記目視録し
I merely wrote them based on the Gladiol books of Psalms and Revelation, chapter 3, verse 102. Is that an actual thing, and can we go look at it? And does it also predict the New Gen killings?
世界邪神
The arrival of the wicked-hearted king Gladiol is nigh. This world shall soon know his presence.
復活を阻止するには
Only with 7 stakes forged in blackened blood shed by Gladiol himself may his resurrection be averted. Is that what we've been trying to do? We're up to 7 now, right? 7 stakes forged in blackened blood. Well, the stakes shall be reforged into swords, and the swords shall be bestowed upon the 7 black knights who withstood divine punishment itself. Okay, so Fess, Senna, Kazupi, our boy Takumi, that's 4. Yua? Remy? Remy for sure, we've seen hers, that's 5. So maybe Yua, and who? Not Mizumi, not Nanami. Maybe Nanami? Nah, not Nanami. Maybe Senna. I mean, whoever was standing in that room with the bad dude who had the Garo Froggy, they are a gigalomaniac. We don't know who that is yet. It still could be Senna. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Do the murders predate people getting swords? I don't think so. Senna seems like she's had hers for a while. Fess did not say when she got hers. Orihara seems to have had hers for a bit. I feel like they predate the first murder, but that might not be the case if the first murder happened 5 years ago, as has been speculated. I wonder. Again, mechanics. Interesting. For only mortals, burdened with wicked hearts, may overthrow the wicked-hearted king. Mortals with mental health disorders, you mean? Wow, that sounds like something straight out of a movie. Just like Band Talks. I love me a crazy epic storyline like that. Is it on Netflix? Ayase glared at the detective in response to his comment. Yeah, we are not taking you seriously. It is not some sort of storyline. It is reality. How do you know? Well then, I've got one more question for you. The detective casually brushed away Ayase's objection. Oh, she was all too used to this form of dismissal by now. Not a single person she had told this story to thus far had believed it. I'm amazed, shocked by this. You don't say. You know, we've investigated a whole lot of other students at Sume other than you and Nishiji-kun, and, well... You investigate Senna? Because Senna would be the other fishy one. The detective mumbled to himself as he folded his arms. I don't think they would have anything on Kazupi yet. But Senna, they have her on camera. This was very obviously another act of theatrics, and Ayase had no intention of commenting on it. What is it? Well, this is going to sound a little crazy. And it's not something a detective should really be asking. And it's kind of childish if I'm being honest. I see. If you do not intend to ask me something, then take your leave. My head hurts. Oh, okay, wait. What I was trying to say is, Bon-san said something really weird once. That you guys must be wizards or something. This is your question. This is your line of reasoning. Okay, this is why I'm inclined to think Suwa is a bad guy, because I feel like he knows this stuff, but he's poking around from the edges to imply that he doesn't know about this stuff. He's trying to ask questions and get answers in a way that doesn't allude to what he actually knows. I don't know. I'm sussy of you, boy. Yeah, wizards. You must be wizards. Show him the body duplication spell. Upon hearing that the subject of that remark was plural, Ayase raised her eyebrows in suspicion. I mean, that's obviously not true, right? Do I look like a fucking wizard to you? Never mind, we are. Ayase... Bloody hell. As she replied, Ayase's line of sight was directed not toward the man, but toward her hand that lay atop her bedsheets. Yeah, we're wizards, you got us. You're an interesting gal, Ayase-chan. Yeah, but... New Gen is wholly unrelated to the Knights of Gladiol. Huh, gotcha. Okay, so wizards, but wizards unrelated to the case. Noted. Well, not that it really matters either way. The detective, completely disinterested in what Ayase just said, brushed off her words once again, then began to stretch. I was about to say, what the hell is with this music? Okay, it's his ringtone. The moment he did so, a digital sound suddenly cut through the silence of the room. Why would this be your ringtone? The detective, surprised by this interruption, reached into the pocket of his suit and took out his cell phone. Ah, geez, cell phones aren't allowed in here, huh? Shoot. I must have forgot to power it off. You did not do that by accident. Yep, this is intentional. Oh man, it looks like a certain girl is calling me. How about that, Ayase? I should just answer this here. Even though I just said I really shouldn't. Oh, it's my lovely girlfriend. We've been together for 4 years now. Can you believe it? Uh-oh. Who's this gonna be? I would be tempted to say Yua, except A, she's a lot younger than you. 4 years? Damn. When they started dating would be insane. Also, he noted Yua when we were walking with her and didn't say anything, so I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Lovely girlfriend. I can't think of who that might be. Maybe it's the nurse. He turned his phone off with a grin, forcing the caller to hang up. He then turned to Ayase once more.
綾瀬ちゃんは映画見るっすか？
Oh, come on. What's that going to amount to? You a movie buff,
ス
Ayase-chan?
パークウォーズって知らない？
Ever heard of Spark Wars? My ringtone's the Count Darth Spider theme from the movie. AKA the thing you just heard. The Count Darth Spider theme. Darth Spider, the mask that we found at the top of the building in Shogun's wheelchair. Okay, you're getting more and more sussy now, and I don't think you're even trying to hide it at this point. Ayase had no interest in movies, nor anything of the sort. Having long since decided that she had no obligation to further entertain the detective's questioning, she returned to gazing silently outside the window.
実は自分スパークウォーズを
To be honest, I'm kind of a Spark Wars superfan.
あ、興味ないっすか？
Oh, but judging from that, you're probably not interested. Sorry. There's a meme about this game about how Star Wars fans suck. Does that have something to do with Sua and this whole Darth Spider Spark Wars kind of off-brand offshoot here? Is this where this is coming from?
じゃ、自分はこれで。
I guess I'll get the joke eventually. Well, guess I'll get out of your hair now. See ya. With that, the detective concluded the conversation, with which he had no partner, and then left the hospital room. Ayase did not even turn around to watch him go. Take your fruit with you. With the man gone, all that reflected in her eyes was the twilight sky slowly turning indigo. And I think that'll be a good cutoff point. What the hell? Okay, hang on a second. No, I need to know what this is. Ya big dum-dum! I've been waiting for so long. Just waiting for you. No, never mind. We're starting the next episode with this, because you know what? We're going to leave Saratan waiting. She's going to be waiting at least a couple of days for us. She's going to be waiting so long. You big dum-dum. Yep, that's me. So, yeah. I hope you guys are enjoying this. The playthrough by the big dum-dum. And we'll see where things go from here. We are due to talk to Ayase. And hopefully we get a little more info from her. Cryptic as she is. But I think we're due for something happening as well. I know we just ended a chapter. But we're getting some explanations and some more questions along with our answers. What has Yua discovered? What else is going on? Bodies are just piling up, and we need to know why. But that is 7. We have 7 bodies. Who are our 7 swords going to be? And if one of them is Remy, why is she trying to kill us? Huh. Lots going on. We will find out about things. I guess Ayase is dropping us some lore. As crazy as she's sounding, she's probably going to end up being right about the things she's talking about. Regardless, tune in next time for where all this goes. I hope to see you again. Twitter, Twitch, all that good stuff like I said. Until then, we're just going to leave Saratan waiting. That's right. I don't care if you call me a dum-dum. You're going to sit there. You're going to sit there for 2 or 3 days, depending on the day this episode comes out, and you're going to like it. And the rest of you, I will see you then, and we can all see how pissed off Sarah is when that day comes. Take care. Bye-bye.